Everyone in the hallway heard the snap. But before that sound could echo through the middle school corridor, no one could have guessed that the quiet new girl, who barely spoke to anyone, would leave the school bully writhing on the floor in pain, clutching his broken arm. Her name was Hannah Grace Whitmore. She had moved to Roosevelt Middle School in small-town Indiana a month earlier, transferring right in the middle of the semester. Her father, a career military officer, had gotten reassigned, forcing them to relocate yet again. This wasn't new to Hannah, but it still didn't make it any easier. New faces, new school, new people, all unfamiliar. Hannah had always been the quiet type. Not shy, not standoffish, but she didn't speak much unless she had to. She kept her distance, and that was by design. Over the years, she had learned to protect herself, to blend in and avoid attention. The only attention she wanted was the attention of books and homework. But attention found her anyway, especially in the form of Brad Knox, the self-proclaimed ruler of the school. Brad had been bullying since he could walk, taking pride in being the one who controlled every corner of Roosevelt Middle. Tall, athletic, and with a charisma that could convince anyone to follow his lead, Brad thrived on other people's fear. When Hannah stepped into that first class, Brad knew immediately that she was different from the other new kids. She didn't smile at him, didn't laugh at his jokes, didn't look at him at all. That annoyed him. He wasn't used to being ignored. "Hey, new girl," he had called out across the cafeteria the first week. "What's up with you? You too good for us?" The laughter of his two lackeys, Tyler and Chase, followed. But Hannah just stared at him blankly, her expression unreadable. "Are you mute or just too special for us to talk to?" he pressed. Still, no reaction from Hannah. She simply stood up, grabbed her lunch tray, and walked away without a word. This intrigued Brad, but also irritated him. The bullying escalates. From that moment on, Brad made it his mission to break Hannah, to make her acknowledge him. He started small, shoving her into lockers when no one was watching, tripping her in the hallways, calling her names behind her back. But when Hannah didn't flinch, didn't even look his way, he had to step it up. The comments got nastier. Rumors began to swirl. People started whispering about her, wondering why she never smiled or laughed or spoke to anyone. Some even said she was a freak. But Hannah didn't let it get to her. She was used to being the outsider. She had learned to keep her distance from people who were cruel. Besides, she had bigger things to focus on, like her training. You see, Hannah wasn't just some defenseless new girl. She had been trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Krav Maga, and Taekwondo for the past 6 years. Her father believed in martial arts, not just as a way to defend oneself but as a means of discipline, strength, and control. Hannah had competed in regional and national tournaments in various fighting styles, always winning. But she had never fought out of anger. She wasn't a bully. Her parents taught her one rule: violence should always be the last resort. That's why when Brad started picking on her, she didn't strike back. She stayed calm. She didn't say a word. But deep down, she knew that if things ever got too far, she could end it in one move. And, on that Thursday, things went too far. The breaking point. It was a crisp morning, the kind of day where everything seemed to stand still. Hannah was walking to her science class when Brad, Tyler, and Chase cornered her near the lockers. "Looks like the freak finally showed up to class," Brad sneered. Hannah didn't acknowledge him. She moved to step around him, but he blocked her path. "Where do you think you're going, weirdo?" Brad taunted, smirking. Hannah's fingers tightened around the strap of her backpack. She wasn't afraid, she was just tired. "Move," she said in a low voice. Brad's grin widened. "Oh, now she talks. How cute. Too bad you're not cute enough to not get picked on." Without warning, he grabbed a fistful of Hannah's long, dark hair, yanking it hard. Snap. That was the sound of the switch flipping in Hannah's mind. In one fluid motion, she dropped her backpack, stepped to the side, and twisted her body, using Brad's grip on her hair against him. With a sickening crack, Brad's arm was twisted behind him, his elbow facing the wrong way. He screamed. Tyler and Chase backed away in shock, eyes wide with disbelief. Hannah didn't release the lock on Brad's arm. She simply stood there, calm and steady, her gaze unwavering. "You touched me first," she said quietly. Then, she let go of his arm. Brad collapsed to the ground, clutching his now broken arm, his face pale with pain. The hallway fell silent. No one moved. Hannah stepped back, her expression still cool. "Next time, don't touch me." The aftermath. The chaos that followed was like a storm. Teachers arrived within seconds, dragging the bully to the nurse's office. Brad was rushed to the hospital with a fractured elbow. He would have to wear a cast for months. Hannah, on the other hand, was immediately summoned to the principal's office. She knew what was coming. After all, Brad had a reputation, and no one liked a girl who could make him scream. Her parents were called. Brad's parents were called. The meeting was tense. Brad's mother was livid, demanding that Hannah be expelled for hurting her son. But then Hannah's father spoke up. "We'll see the footage," he said calmly. "And I'll tell you the same thing I've always told my daughter. We teach her to defend herself, not to attack first." She was cornered. Brad started it. Hannah finished it. The principal watched the security footage and saw everything: how Brad had pulled Hannah's hair without warning, how she reacted in self-defense with a precision that shocked everyone. She didn't escalate. She didn't throw the first punch. But when forced into a situation, she defended herself with a mastery that showed just how much control she had over her body and mind. In the end, Brad was suspended for his bullying, and Hannah, while initially given a warning, was not punished. Her self-discipline, restraint, and the fact that she acted in self-defense spoke volumes. The lesson. From that day on, Brad and his followers never bothered Hannah again. In fact, most of the school's attitude toward her changed. People respected her, even feared her a little, but they also saw her for what she truly was: not a victim, but a survivor. And Hannah? She didn't want revenge. She didn't want fame. She just wanted to go to school in peace. But deep down, she knew that when pushed too far, she had the power to protect herself. The lesson was simple: sometimes the best way to deal with bullies isn't to cower, but to stand strong, with strength, control, and dignity. Hannah Grace Whitmore had taught Roosevelt Middle School a lesson no one would ever forget.